On Horseback to Europe. Horse Riding Stanza 1. Instruction for Beginners. One can never feel themselves more free, more sublime, and happier than on the back of a horse. Man has domesticated the horse 6,000 years ago, originally used for transport, hunting, carrying, fighting, agriculture, and today, body and soul beautifier hobby, a free time program, a sport. And the horse is still a pleasant, loyal company of man. Smart, observant, intelligent partner who with enough training and with good horse riding knowledge, riding can be the greatest activity. The way to get to that point is a long, rough path, the path of learning. Preparation of the horse. When we work with horses, we always have to be loving, conscious, and firm. When entering the box, we have to call them by name, smooth, and lead out of the stable while staying on the left side, while going before or next to. The saddling should be done also from the left side. Raise the saddle above the horse's withers, then slide to the right side on the horse's back. Get around the horse from the front. Lower the strap by returning it to the fling belt, but do not tighten it too strong yet. The saddling is correct if the saddle's front pommel is in the middle of the horse's wither. Then the deepest point of the horse's back and the deepest point of the saddle make a vertical line, which means that they are in balance. If we saddle too front, then it is a wrong balance, which we call front saddling. Same way, it can be rear saddling, which is when the pommel gets behind the wither. By bridling, we put the bridle on the horse's head with our right hand, and also with our hand we help the snaffle into the horse's mouth. Putting the forelock before the horse's forehead belt, we fasten the throat and chin belts. The fastening is correct if we can put 3 laid fingers under the throat belt and 2 under the chin belt. The fastening is correct if we can put 3 laid fingers under the throat belt and 2 under the chin belt. The nose belt should be arranged horizontally from the front side of the horse. Motion of the horse. Before we start learning, let us check the essence of the horse's move, because only by this can we understand what we have to do. Horses have 3 styles of moving: walking, trotting, galloping. The horse's leg motion is 4-stroke, and its back has the same motion as it swings slowly in the pace of the walking. This will get stronger and faster by the trotting, which is a 2-stroke moving cycle, and the back gets more intense partial vertical movement and partial to the motion's direction. The most dynamic moving style is the galloping, that is 3-stroke, and is a series of little jumps following each other. Here the horse's back does a swing motion. It is important to know these because the basis of horse riding is sitting, and it is correct if in all 3 cases it plainly follows the horse's motion and gets in balance. Horse riding is tuning on the horse with our nerves, spirit, soul, and physics. Instruction on running rein. When we study, we have to choose a flat, sandy, grassy riding school where the circumstances are calm and no one will bother us. The horse for running rein should be equipped with and tying rein. The trainer first does warming up exercises with the horse, so the horse will have fine physical and mental condition. The warming up means walking, trotting, galloping into both directions. For a beginning rider, an experienced, calm horse is needed. Too vigorous a motion is hard to sit for the beginner, so they might have difficulties, which hinders the improvement. A well-trained horse quickly reacts to the trainer's voice help. The studying always should be personalized, depending on the improvement. From the simple basic exercises goes to the harder ones, in order. They cannot move on while the learnt things are not fixed, and our knowledge is unsure. Sitting. It is best to watch the first sitting on the horse. The trainer patiently explains all details. The first, most important, is the fixing of the sitting. Our highest point, our heads, looking forward. Our shoulders are open and lowered. The chest lightly stands out, and the back is straight. The stomach lightly stands out with the muscles, and the waist helps with straining. The body weight through the hip and rump bone rests on the relaxed gluteus. Our hand on the side, the natural form, and the forearm and the knees are closed in an obtuse angle. The thighs flexibly stick to the saddle. The knees and legs are resting on the horse's side. The ankles are relaxed. The feet almost parallel to the horse's body. And it's in the stirrup till the feet's middle, and the heels are lowered to the deepest point. The head, the shoulders, the waist, the heels are lined up vertically, and we call this school sitting. From a front view, it seems that the thighs, knees, and upper legs are softly hugging the horse's side like a flexible frame that gives a safe feeling to the horse also. During riding, we have to keep this, but not strictly with tight muscles, instead in a flexible, dynamic state. Sometimes we have to tighten our muscles for a short time, but only until we get the correct result. So the static state means the correct sitting with the gravity state, not the continuous tightening of muscles. Walking. The teaching starts with walking. Let us follow the horse's back movement with our waist, deepen our sitting, and feel how the swinging back almost sits itself. While the horse walks in its pace, the back swings back and forward and a little bit up and down, which we should follow. To understand and to find the feeling, the trainer tells us when the horse's back moves forward, and we should follow with our sitting. When we hear now, that is when we have to move our waist forward. The rider's sitting is corrected continually because, in the beginning, the lack of experience and our natural anxiety, we are willing to find safety with tighter muscles. Exercises to correct sitting. The trainer is patient, and his continuous instructions help us to correct our sitting, and at last we keep on riding in harmony with the horse for a longer period. We do different physical exercises that relax our muscles and in part get away our attention that helps us absolve our anxiety and tight muscles. Stretch our arms forward in the level of the chest. First stretch one hand, then the other, and then stretch both in the same time. Do this also to the side. When we put our hands on our hips, it helps the waist movement. And when we put our hand on our waist, it helps us to stretch and straighten our waist. Bending forward to the horse's neck and leaning backwards helps us get the feeling of the balance. And also we get used to sitting naturally and smoothly on the horse in all positions. We should do these exercises for a few minutes, but not too long, because they make us tired. Study trotting. When we can move together with the horse while he or she is walking, then we can begin to learn study trotting. During study trotting, the horse is two-stroke and walks in a middle vigorous style, while he or she's back swings up and down and forward in the movement's pace. It is harder to follow it with our waist. The movement begins from the rear legs. The rear joints snarl like a spring, and then the pushing off the ground. Of course, the front legs have their role as well. And the back of the horse takes this move in a swinging form. Because we carry ourselves nicely, our spine picks up this movement, and it feels like we would grow together with the horse, and we would move with the horse together in harmony. Our goal is the forming of a steady, deep sitting without using our hands. If we don't use our hands, it means that we don't correct our shortcomings in our balance. We don't hold to the reins and through the reins into the horse's mouth. This is why we don't use the reins in the beginning of our study. And for our safety, we only use the rein tied to the front pommel. And also, we should not practice study trotting longer than a few minutes because it is tiring. Get some relaxing walking breaks between. Also, be aware that you don't work too much to one side. Instead, switch sides, so it will be a balanced loading, and we share the movement to both sides. The study trotting is the walking style where we can best learn the basics of horse riding. During galloping, the horse has enough vigor to guide us to the meaning of how to move and ride together. Sitting and different posture faults are the same, like during walking, only the dynamics of the move is more significant and can cause more negative effects. Exercises to correct sitting. The trainer continually helps us to correct our mistakes. We increase the safety of our sitting when we do the same sitting posture balance improving exercises, what we use during the walking. Be aware that because of our lack of practice, for a short term, we repeat the same mistakes and get tired quickly. We should make our trotting work divers with walking and with physical exercises. And often repeated beginners mistake that their feet falls out of the stirrups and after they can't find it. Correcting this or improving our feet positioning has a good exercise called from stirrup to stirrup. While repeating the motion, it guides us without the stirrup's help to sit correctly. And later on, it is a great help on the field or in the riding school how to find easily the stirrup when we lose it accidentally. Also, an exercise which helps us to deepen our sitting is when, to the trainer's command, we focus on how to relax totally all of our muscles, and with this we deepen our sitting. If we do it correctly, after a while we feel that the saddle sucks our bottom. Easy trotting. As our sitting gets firm in study trotting, we start learning the easy galloping. The point of this that we don't stay in sitting during two rhythms. Instead of the first, we stand up in the saddle a little bit, and we lean on our knees in the stirrup. And to the next rhythm, we softly, flexibly sit back. Basically, it is a two-stroke move when we stand up and sit down to the rhythm. The standing begins with the hips. The trunk doesn't go forward, instead parallel to itself, swinging forward, and to the next rhythm, flexibly goes back. The studying begins in standing position, where we are taught the meaning of the motion. To the trainer's command, we stand up, and to the next command, we sit back. We have to emphasize now that the balance that we have learnt during school sitting stays the same, so when we stand up, the legs don't move, and all other body parts stay the same. It is time that we would practice this move first during trotting, then during galloping. Beginners usually can't find the rhythm in the first few minutes, and that is why the move gets uneven. The rider shakes and feels him or herself uncomfortable. The trainer helps with his voice so he can keep giving orders to stand, but in harmony with the galloping motion. If we catch the rhythm a few times, we immediately realize that the shaking stops and it feels like we would sit in a comfortable armchair that to the rhythm pushes our bottom off. This helps the standing very much because we simply have to follow the given vigor. We get the wrong moves when we sit down late, so we meet that back motion of the horse that goes upward. After a few caught moves, we still fall back, so that is why we still need, for a while, the helping voice of the trainer. The gallop. When we get some confidence in other walking styles, we can start learning galloping. Just like before, the horse is led by the trainer, helping to go forward or get the horse to a slower walking style. We don't have to worry about the reins. We need to get full attention to how to sit correctly. During galloping, the horse moves forward with a series of small jumps, and during these, its back swings back and forward. Galloping is a 3-stroke walking style, and depending on which front leg will do the final movement, we can take galloping to the left or to the right hand. The inner side of the horse is where the trainer is, galloping correctly done with the left hand. And of course, by the right-handed gallop, the trainer can be found on the right side of the horse. It has the same name in riding schools, only the inner side is toward the midpoint of the riding school, and the outer side is toward the barrier of the riding school. We always kickstart the horse to its inner leg. That is so the holding up position of the stirrup will not bother the rider, so that their body weight will rest on one point, on the seat. In the beginning, it is good to put across the stirrups on the pommel and learn without stirrups. The trainer kickstarts the horse to gallop, and we should follow the movement with loosened muscles and joints, and our waist should follow the horse's back. We still keep the correct school sitting, but our upper body leans back and forward because of the swing-like motion. The natural reason for this is that the gallop's motion moves the body in pace, but the midpoint of the move is also vertical. Our bottom has to stay in the saddle all along. As we explain, it's like the rider smears the saddle with his bottom while sitting in the gallop jumps. The thighs and knees are softly, flexibly following the movement by sticking to the horse's side. The ankles, the feet, and the heels are still positioned like it was during sitting school. If we sit correctly, we feel a pleasant, swinging motion, like we would be united with the saddle, with the horse's back. This is how we help the horses move, and we support the gallop jumps with our waist, hips, and thighs. Exercises to correct sitting. Galloping is such a walking style where if we sit correctly, we can get in balance easier than during trotting. The known simple physical exercises are easier too because it's harder to lose the rhythm of the movement and our balance improves. Raised arms in different posture increases the independence of sitting and safety. While we are watching the position of our head, shoulders, chest, back, waist, thighs, knees, legs, we have to do the exercises that the trainer asks us to do. It is clear that we should not do any exercise too long, just like before, because with the over-expectation naturally comes stopping of improvement and falling back. Because of smart practicing, we can get in harmony with the horse very soon and for longer periods, and slowly we'll be ready to ride alone. Independence, in this case, means that still with the trainer we continue learning, but without the running rein. Starting and taking up the rhythm. To ride with the trainer's instructions, but independently, without a running rein, is a whole new situation. The leading, securing role of the running rein disappears. The horse is led, directed, driven, only by the rider. The school sitting by now should be firm and steady. Because with the running rein, we worked in a smaller circle, it can be weird in the beginning to move straight, which sometimes comes together with inclined sitting. To corrigate this, we are warned by the trainer. Our hands have a continual contact with the horse's mouth through the rein. This means an easy leaning where the horse's mouth gives a small pressure on the hands that flexibly accepts it and follows it gently during the move. Our fist should be in a standing position, in one fist distance both from each other and from the horse's wither, in such a way that our wrist and forearm, till our elbows, would follow the smooth, unbroken rein. With this we get the most direct and ideal contact with the horse's mouth. This is important because through the reins we have an effect on the horse's occiput, neck, back, tail, and rear joints, which means we affect the movement. It is worthwhile to learn all the small details precisely, because from all these small things, the complicated technique of horse riding will build up, and if the moves are learnt well, later on they will work automatically. We can make many mistakes while holding the reins. All these have the same effect. It bothers the horse's mouth, which means its motion. An often returning mistake is when the reins are held too high or low, and the up, down, in, out, broken wrists, too. In all these cases, the long line of the rein breaks, so we artificially harden our contact with the horse's mouth. Begin to walk. We make the horse walk in such a way that with our waist we give a gentle forward pressure to the horse's back, and then staying in school sitting, we follow its movements. This contact has to be constant during the whole riding. It is important that we should give the forward helps in harmony, in time and firmly, not surprisingly or roughly. During practice, our helps will become so smooth that they will be almost invisible. We barely sense the waist movement, but the horse still starts to walk. During walk, the horse keeps an easy leaning on the rider's hands. The horse arches with its neck nicely and moves constantly with correct leg order. With our waist, we follow the movement of the back, and our thighs and legs softly frame the side. Our look is straight, our head posture is correct. Transition to steady trotting. During transition from walking to trotting, the waist strengthens the constant forward pressure on the horse's back. The boots close, and while loosening our hand, we let the horse into trotting. The transition is good if an outside person barely sees these helps. Our waist immediately picks up the move. The school sitting, of course, stays. The horse continually leans easily on the rein through the snaffle, so on the rider's hands. Trotting means a more intensive, energetic motion that has to be picked up flexibly by the hands. By correct school sitting, the horse stays in posture also. The horse's neck makes an unbroken arch. Its forehead and its joints snarl like a spring at the moment when it touches the ground, and this makes the backs more relaxed, loosened. This gives a positive effect to our sitting, giving a comfortable, soft feeling. It comes clear now that how the two species affect each other. The correct sitting of the rider, his soft helps advantageously influence the horse's move. Same time the swinging, flexibly moving back helps the rider to deepen their sitting, and increasing, carrying body parts nicely, and making riding pleasant. Kickstarting to gallop. The helps of the kickstart should be so soft, like any other helps. In this case, too, we work in harmony with the horse's movement. During the kickstart, we give a little forward pressure to the forward move, which is in harmony with the motion's direction. This is such a move like we would want to push out a sled from below ourselves. At the same time, the boots close, depending on which leg we want the horse to start with. We gently turn the horse's head aside, a little bit, by left-handed gallop to the left, and simultaneously, we keep our inner left boot in the strap. We firmly slide the outer, in this case the right boot, behind the strap and gently push it to the horse's side. The horse will jump into gallop because of all of these harmonic, or done at the same time, helps. In the same moment of the kickstart, the horse will gently reach its neck forward, and we should that with our hands, so that the move will not stop on the stiff rein. As the horse starts to gallop, we follow the back's movement with all of our body parts, in correct school sitting, as we have learned by riding with a running rein. Switching from gallop to trotting. From galloping to trotting, we take the horse by sitting down firmly, and by stretching our waist a little bit more, our trunk's line slowly goes behind the vertical. By this, the rein will shorten and have a reducing effect on the horse's rear joints. By reducing the vigor, the horse goes to trotting, so it picks up itself into trotting. In the movement of the transition, our trunk goes to vertical again, and we pick up the rhythm of the trotting in steady trotting. When the transition is finished, the hands gently pulling effect ends. The easy leaning between the horse's mouth and our hand gets restored. The whole transition is flexible, soft, rolling, but firm, and not drawling. Switching from steady trotting to walking. When we change from steady trotting to walking, we have to deepen our sitting. We take our trunk behind the vertical a little bit, and by this the rein will shorten. And when we stretch the waist, our boots gently close. Consequences of these movements, the horse will be more raised, shortened, and changed into walking. After the transition, the hands immediately loosen and pick up a constant leaning. The waist immediately picks up the slower motion, and we keep on moving with correct school sitting. If our pickup is not correct, that is the consequence of the wrong posture during galloping. We get it wrong if we hold our hands roughly and by tugging at the reins. In this case, the transition will be crumbled, without rhythm, and will feel the lack of harmony. Stopping the horse. When we stop the horse, we use the same helps which we have used before in other walking styles transmissions. But this time, as a result, the motion will stop. As the horse stops, we should loosen our hands to stop the pulling effect of the reins. Epilogue. During riding, we have to endeavor to get a deep harmony between horse and rider. Riding technique has a close connection with the understanding of the horse. It cannot be separated. Using the techniques that we have learned in riding school, we can feel ourselves secured, and we can enjoy all the beauty that nature has for all riding people. Only now we can understand Goethe's proverb, "One can never feel themselves more free, more sublime, happier than on the back of a horse."